Welcome everyone to another great episode of Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I am here again with Vanessa Hogle, my co-hostess, our chat Shananigator, Shana down in the chat room, and special guest tonight, Amelia Cotter, author and paranormal investigator with the RIP file. So we have a great show on tap. I've been impressed with Amelia's work for years. She is also one of our fellow Haunted Road Media authors. So we have a lot to talk about. A lot to do, and well, Vanessa, you want to go ahead and say hi real quick? I always do this. I'm always like, I always feel weird about it. It's like I do the whole intro and it's like, Vanessa, say hi, and it's like, it just doesn't sound right.
It's like mutton chop.
I know. Hi. Say hi, Vanessa. Hi. You know.
Hello.
So, well, before we get to Amelia, we got a couple of things, of course, to take care of real quick. And I actually wrote them down this time, so I know what so I don't forget anything. Last time I forgot stuff until the very end. I was like, oh yeah. So okay, well, of course there's Ghosty. You don't have Ghosty yet. Get your Ghosty. He has his own Facebook page, and we're still doing selfie with Ghosties. He was pulled over by the cops this past weekend. I don't know if everybody saw that one. Ghosty with the police officer that pulled us over. So he did not get slapped with the cuffs, fortunately, but we hope he learned his lesson.
Ghosty floated his way out of it, didn't he?
He did. That was just a little infraction of the license plate light. So not a big deal. But yeah, Ghosty needs to make sure he has his maintenance up to snuff. And then of course we got T-shirts. We did post some of the people have gotten the T-shirts. The Mad Hatters, you Mad Hatters out there. See who it was? Gwen, Tammy Heitzman, and it was Ryan Jones. We're sporting the T-shirts out there on the Facebook page. So.
Jan will be getting hers after this weekend, and she'll be rocking that on there. So
there you go.
Y'all out there who hasn't ordered theirs, you need to get cute. Get your order in, okay?
Yeah.
Because we can't be rocking them all by ourselves.
Yeah, turn off. And if you have any special size requests, let me know, because when I do the next order, I'll put in those the special sizes. I just kind of did standard small through extra large, and then I got hit up with like, oh, do you have this? Do you have that? And it's like, I should have asked that the first time around, but we'll do it for the second time.
It'll happen.
It'll happen. Yep. So also we have our new Cheshire Cats. Everybody's a Mad Hatter, but we have 3 Cheshire Cats, and that is Tammy Sifford, Donna Gorton, and Bonnie Halperin, and they are helping us behind the scenes with Haunted Road Media and Edge of the Rabbit Hole and all that with a number of different things. So just want to recognize them. Thank you, Cheshire Cats, for the help that you are now giving us. That's fantastic. Yeah, I can't say enough about that. So we've had a lot of dialogue so far, a lot of different ideas of what we want to do, and things that we can do for you, because this is really all it's about everybody, and how we're all helping each other, and back and forth with the conversations that we've had, the information that we're trying to get people, and I think it's a great thing. So.
It really is. I have to start something funny here. Amelia, your husband, I guess went to go get something out of the fridge.
Yeah.
That scared the shit out of me, because I thought it was like,
it's happening live, paranormal activity.
It's ghost hubby.
We love it. I had to do a double take, and I'm like, oh, Ralph is in a red shirt, and
You'll need the Jonathan app. They'll hit his watch and all these ghost photos.
Oh, that's awesome. I needed that. That just made my day.
Yeah, we have to be careful though, because Vanessa will get some activity going on behind her from time to time on the show. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple other things. Just to note, Super Chat is activated. I think it was Tammy had mentioned, hey, you could turn that on, and I did, like weeks ago, and I just never mentioned anything. But it's there, it's available. So the super chat is an option.
I have a question. What is super chat?
I don't know either.
Yeah, super chat is well, and see, I'm still learning about exactly what it is. But basically, super chat is a way for your chats to get noticed, and it also donates to the channel. So it's YouTube's new way is like implementing a donation feature, but then also it recognizes them because it like makes it like huge and colorful and all of that stuff. So
cool.
yeah, it's kind of cool.
Awesome.
So
Super chat.
yeah, super chat. Patreon is also coming soon. I've had some inquiries about that, which is also kind of another donation type of thing, but it's external from YouTube, even though you kind of tie it in. And basically, we're still playing with the format and trying to figure out, because the way it works is, depending on what you get yourself involved with that. There's different perks and rewards and that sort of thing. So we're coming up with those ideas as far as perks and rewards for the patrons. So and a lot of YouTube channels are starting to use that, and I've seen some really cool things out there. So it's another, whether it's like going to be behind the scenes stuff or extra little tchotchkes or whatever. We're figuring it out. So, but we've had some inquiries about Patreon as well. And then the other thing, because I've had this question come up a lot, is actually how to get into the live chat. And so there's a couple of different ways. First of all, if you're watching this through Facebook or Twitter, you're not going to get the chat. So you need to get onto YouTube and watch the show. So if you're on a computer, that's just going to show up in the sidebar. If you are on mobile, this is what happens. And I had a live notification come up earlier today, and so I just clicked into it and took a snapshot. And so if you look down at the bottom, okay, he's running a live stream right there. If you look down at the bottom where it says live chat, you click on that and it expands the chat. So if you're on mobile, that's how you access the chat. So I hope that clears it up for anybody who is still having some issues getting into the chat, because that's the question that's popped up a number of times here in the last few weeks. So I think that's it for all the housekeeping stuff. Unless you have anything else, Vanessa?
No, I'm good.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Let's get to Amelia.
Let's get to it, Amelia. We're happy to finally have Amelia on the show. She's a busy woman, an author of it's at least 3 books. I think you have a couple of others out there where you've co-written. I don't know, but
Yeah.
with Honorable Media, it's Maryland Ghosts, and so this came out. This is a second edition that Amelia did through us. And so it's a really, really great book. It covers a lot of personal experiences and all that, so I can't say enough about it. And then Amelia is also a paranormal investigator and has been filming with the RIP files. So Amelia, that's just kind of the highlights. You want to say hello to the Mad Hatters out there and tell us a few more details about yourself?
Hi, everybody, Mad Hatters and others alike. So I'm Amelia Cotter. A lot of you, I think, in the chat room already know me or know who I am. I've been around for a while. I've written several books. This House, The True Story of a Girl and a Ghost, Maryland Ghosts, Paranormal Encounters in the Free State, and a children's book called Breakfast with Bigfoot. And then I've been featured or co-written in some other books, some by Haunted Road Media, some with Breaking Faith Publishing and Black Oak Media with Michael Clean was the old publisher that I used to deal with. And they're all wonderful. And I'm also on the show called, we've got graphics and everything. This is fancy. I'm also on a show called the RIP Files, which we've been filming since 2014. And it's been seen in the UK on Really TV and UK TV Play. It's been seen in Australia and New Zealand. and also on Sci-Fi Asia. And we're finally coming to the U.S. next year, which is great. Thank you. I'm so excited. There I am for the Sci-Fi promo with the picture taken by my husband, Jonathan Montgomery Pollock, who's walking around scaring people in the background. But he's a professional photographer, so he did some set photography. Anyway, I've got all these shout outs going on. So the show is coming to the U.S. and I have unfortunately zero details about that, but that's exciting because whenever it's a secret, that means it's something good. So we are kind of, it takes forever to make these kinds of deals, and then the cast and, the people involved at the talent level are always the last ones to find out what's going on. Same when you're an author. But we're really excited. So I believe we'll be streaming online on a service that'll be available in the U.S. as well as on U.S. TV. And I should just the RIP files, and we're on Facebook, Twitter. We have our own website. It's a paranormal reality television show that follows a team of mostly women, and there are some people of color as well on the team, and sometimes those things are missing in the TV world when paranormal investigators are being represented. So it follows us on our it's like a storytelling journey where we're interested in sharing the story of the spirits, not really riling people, the dead up, so much as investigating, discovering, finding out. And we also use more metaphysical techniques than a lot of shows. We do some of the more scientific, which I'll use in major quotation fingers, some of the more scientific things, but we don't shy away from some metaphysical and other types of techniques. Why not? One is not more reliable than the other. So.
Well, yeah, I've seen some of the stills. I'm sorry, but I actually haven't had a chance to watch the show, and I guess maybe that's because it's overseas and it's a little. I guess maybe it's a little harder for us to watch over here.
We have some promo clips, and there have been some. I go to some conferences where I can show like a promo episode that sort of has clips spliced together. But you can find some clips on our Facebook page. Okay. But yeah, to watch the full episode, you've got to wait probably until winter 2018. So.
Okay, all right. Well, and I was going to ask you, in looking through some of those stills, I did notice where you're all sitting, like, one of them was you're sitting in a circle, almost like a seance table. Another is you guys are using a Ouija board. So, how does that metaphysical side, rather than the scientific side, like you were saying, how does that, really play into your investigations?
Well, for me, so I'm a person who's sort of like, I do believe in ghosts. I don't know what ghosts are. I don't know what they're made of. I don't know why they are. My day job, I work at a planetarium, so I work around science, astronomy, and physics. I'm naturally skeptical, but not like skeptical like I don't believe in ghosts, just skeptical in that like I have had some really interesting, strange experiences, so it takes a lot to convince me sometimes, when you see things, orbs and stuff like that, you know what I mean. But to me, it's always been funny to me when people talk about performing a scientific investigation or using certain methods, like certain. They don't seem, and that's not to offend anybody, because I've used those tools too, K2 meter, things like that, and EMF detector, full spectrum of, the Ovilus and the Connect, and then everything down to just a plain old good old tape recorder, which in my opinion is like the best tool you can use. But in any case, like I've used all those sorts of devices where you're supposed to be approaching things from a scientific perspective, and then I've had just good old fashioned fun, or and really emotional experiences in a seance using a Ouija board, using a pendulum or dowsing rods. And I don't see any of those things to be any more convincing or any more reliable or scientific over the other. And it's hard to say. I think it takes a lot of experience, I think, to see them in action enough times to say that, like, we don't know how. I can't tell you how an Ovilus works, just the way nobody can tell us how a Ouija board works. I mean, obviously, sometimes psychology is involved and people move the Ouija board on their own with their own hands and things like that. But to me, one method is not sillier than the other. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Absolutely.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, whichever method you're using, whether it's you're using an audio recorder or a K2 meter or a Ouija board or what have you, you're trying to communicate with the spirit. The function is the same. It's just a different method.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a different method, and these scientific tools that people use, I feel like they don't really understand the actual science behind them many times. And I also disagree that using a Ouija board or having a seance is any more dangerous than any other type of method, because for some reason, provocation. I wanted to say catcalling, and I'm like, no, that's not what we're talking about here. Like, calling out to the spirit, maybe, I mean, whatever, if that's your thing. But like provoking and that kind of stuff.
Right,
I mean, you're always you're always making yourself susceptible to bad, negative energies and other kinds of energies when you're investigating at all. So protecting yourself, believing that that you're safe and that you're going to be safe, I think is more important than worrying about whether you're using a device that's going to conjure something negative. It's funny how even seasoned paranormal investigators get drawn into that kind of Hollywood idea,
Now, I do have to ask you, just because I'm more the metaphysical gal.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the witchy woman, I'm the pagan, I'm the one that talks to dead people. So my question is, and it doesn't matter what the answer is, I'm just very curious as to your opinion. During your investigations, using both scientific and metaphysic situations to gather evidence, have you found one to be more bearing of fruit than the other?
That's really interesting. That's an excellent question, and I want to say that I don't think, from my personal experience, one method over the other hasn't drawn out the spirits as much as it's produced an emotional reaction in me or the other investigators that I was with, that I felt helped the activity occur. Like, I've had very intense experiences with nothing in the room, but like, a camera. Obviously there's a person there with a camera, or like, a digital camera and a recorder, but people are tense. You're with the right type of, the right group of people that produces the right kind of energy. You have a closeness with them, you get revved up, you're excited, and your energy sort of pulsates out, if you will, and draws the spirits to you. And I found that I've seen wild things happen with nothing but one of those flashlights that somebody unscrewed and asked to, will you turn the flashlight on and off? Will you touch the flashlight? I've seen crazy things happen, and then I've seen nothing happen, and I've been to seances where nothing happened, and I've been to seances where crazy things happen. So I think it depends more on the way that you relate to it, like what you believe is going to work and what works for you and what you think, is going to happen, and the type of person that you are. Because I've worked with investigators that have been investigating for years and have never had anything happen, like ever. And sometimes I feel like they're just sort of like cooling, sort of neutral personalities. Like they're just nothing's ever gonna.
Now, you bring up an extremely important point here, and it's one that's never discussed on any paranormal shows that I'm aware of. And that is the fact that there are some people who are actually diffusers of paranormal activity. In my experience, when I go to a place like New Orleans, you can ask Mike, I just get taken over and shit goes nuts.
Yeah.
Shit goes nuts. I'm going to go straight. Yes, I have had my now ex-boyfriend with me. Nothing.
That's kind of like Shana's father. When he ever shows up at a place, it's like, if there's any activity going on, poof, it's gone.
I've seen it happen, because I'm not somebody myself that's like, I'm neutral, not a diffuser, but I'm more reactive to what's going on around me than like drawing it out myself, I guess. And I've been around people, there's a few people I can think of that wherever they go, like amazing things occur. Like it just starts to happen. And so I've been amazed by the results that I've seen, and then some very well-meaning people who are just eager that one day they're going to have that experience. They do everything. They pull out all the stops. They've got all the equipment. They ask all the right questions, and nothing ever happens, or something actually stops when they're in the room, or I've had some of the most boring times in my life with some of these poor investigators who then they give up. They're like, oh boy, ghost hunting's really boring, and I'm just like, well, maybe.
Well, I think some people don't understand it's a lot of patience, but
There's a lot of twiddling your thumbs time.
yeah.
And that's true. Yeah, that's true no matter what. But I found working with the show, actually, it's because of the energy I think involved, like the excitement that everybody brings to it, and everybody, and the camaraderie. I didn't expect when I was filming the show to have more experiences, but I actually did. Like, that's when I really started to see and feel and experience things that I had not previously experienced in my life. So.
Well, I have to throw out it's completely different subject, but I have to throw this question out there. It wasn't actually posed by anybody in the chat room, other than the fact that there's a side conversation going on in the chat room, and maybe Amelia, you can shed a little light on it and maybe answer this for them. Vampires, like blood-sucking vampires, real or not, or is it just energy vampires? I know. Putting you on the spot.
Rabbit hole. It's okay.
It's the rabbit hole, and they went there. The Mad Hatters went there, or at least a few of them did. And so I was like, I'm just going to put Amelia on the spot. Sorry.
Awesome. No, blood sucking. No, energy. Certainly, yes. I have, probably had a few relationships with people. life-sucking vampires for sure. But in the traditional supernatural sense, that's a no from me. Sorry.
Okay.
But what do I know? I don't know.
Fair enough. I mean, I have known some people, Vanessa, they were from New Orleans. That there is a subculture where they get up in all the gear and they drink blood and all that stuff, but they're not like what we know from the movies and all that. It's different. They're trying to make themselves into vampires, but they're not really immortal beings or whatever.
Stuff, right?
Well, here's the thing. This actually happened in New Orleans, okay? And you will be hard-pressed to find it on the internet, but I have it from one of the best historians in that area. I want to say it was in the 70s or the 80s. There were people down there that were either doing an investigation or a documentary or something in regards to the paranormal. And two of the girls, I believe it was, disappeared. Everybody is looking for them. They were found, I think it was 2 days later, on the steps of the Ursuline convent, completely naked, completely drained of blood, 100%. Now, here's the thing: you can't drain a body of blood. Even if you slice the throat open and hang them upside down, they're not going to drain completely that way. The one way you can do it, and this is the way it was done, was going through their back and getting a hold of that not aorta, but something like that, through the back that's directly attached to the heart. And that's how you can drain it. And that is exactly what happened to these two girls, and they were laying on the steps of the Ursuline convent, which just so happens to be the location for the story of the Casket Girls, which caused a huge ruckus in New Orleans in history. I have seen things in New Orleans that defy explanation. I don't get scared. I've seen things there that literally had me running. And there's very few places in the world I won't go into. They got a club down there I won't step foot into. Never again. I spent 5 minutes, turned right back around, and walked out. I will never step foot back in it because of what I saw. So there is a possibility, definitely. I know you got some blood drinkers down there. I've seen it.
So I know I kind of hijacked the conversation with that.
Nice.
So, Amelia,
Always.
yeah, it happens. Amelia, Maryland Ghosts. Now, when we did this, in the second edition for you, and I had people ask me, okay, you're taking on Maryland Ghosts, which, I have Ghosts of Maryland. They're asking me, okay, isn't that like conflict of interest for you? But your book is actually very different. And besides, I'm always like more the merrier anyway. It's a lot of personal experiences, whether they're yours or somebody else's personal experience that you've included within the book. So can you touch a little bit on, kind of the background of Maryland Ghost and the experiences that you had within there?
Sure. So living in Chicago, I've lived here for almost 10 years, made me nostalgic for Maryland, which is my home state where I grew up. And my major interest in sharing stories. So my first book, I told my story through the eyes of a character of experiences that I had when I was young. And my favorite type of
Yeah, and that was
the ones that are
this house.
The alleged truth. Yes.
Right.
Thank you. So I wanted to continue to do that, and I was very nostalgic about Maryland, and Maryland has such a cool, rich history, and I wanted to get in touch with some of my relatives and friends from school and places that I had worked, because I went to school at Hood College in Frederick, Maryland, and so I got to work at the
right down the road from me. Didn't even realize that until like years later.
I know. till like so much time later, and
Right.
Also I worked at the National Museum of Civil War Medicine and just all these really cool places, and I had all these neat connection memories from being a teenager and exploring around at night with my friends, because we didn't do drugs or get into trouble or anything. Like, we took long road trips and called our parents and told them where we were. So I wanted to capture that with the personal true ghost stories, which sometimes is missing from paranormal books. Talk about the folklore and the history, and then maybe some of the haunted legends. But sometimes what is the legend differs from what people actually experience. Or sometimes a place, and this happens a lot in Chicago, is known to be extremely haunted, and there's extremely interesting story about it. There's not a single actual personal anecdote that you can track down from anybody that has actually been, had these experiences, because the ghost stories are in fact the legends. So in any case, I had a ball contacting all these people, doing research. I did Facebook message interviews. People sent me handwritten letters. My Uncle Bernie sent me 30 handwritten letters from all of his experiences, from like the time that he could remember being 5 years old to being an adult and an older man living in Hagerstown. So it was just really cool. It was awesome, and I got some interesting stories. I asked for paranormal. It's funny how many people didn't want to share their stories with me because they were afraid that they weren't scary enough. Well, I've had this, I heard footsteps this one time, but the story's really not that scary. And I'm like, you got no idea. Like, people love to read this kind of stuff.
It's something, right?
But then I got like alien encounters.
Yeah, you did.
I had, people had all sorts of interesting things to talk about. So.
Yeah, there's really a little bit of everything in it. You're right. There's alien encounters and all of that. So it's really a great read, and kind of gives you. It's kind of like a cross section of Maryland and personal experiences from there. So I know I enjoyed it. Okay.
I did too, and I referenced your books in there before I knew you, so I was like, phew. Then when we became
awesome.
friends and got in contact, I was like, all right, good, I've made a positive connection.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well.
Also, and in Chicago too, there's a lot of camaraderie between people who have written books about haunted Illinois and haunted Chicago. There's some people who don't play well, but for the most part, everybody supports each other because the market is there. You can talk about all different kinds of things and never get to the end of it,
Right.
So
what are you working on now? You mentioned something about a poetry book of sorts. I know you had on Facebook. You had included me in a group chat looking for quotes or quips or something, and I was wrapped up in what I was doing, so I apologize for not responding to
well,
that.
there's more. There's always time. I'm working on a book right now that's so outside of my life as a paranormal writer. I'm actually also an award-winning poet, and that's sort of like another. When I decided I wanted to be a writer, I didn't know I was going to be like a writer and paranormal investigator and person on a TV show. I wanted to write, and ghost stories happen to be something I decided to write about that took me down this weird path, and now here I am being like Amelia Cotter, author and storyteller, RIP files. But I still indulge that other side of me. So I'm writing a book about a book of poetry and short stories. It's based a lot on anxiety and mental illness and people dealing with different struggles in life, and it's mostly my writing with some other people's poetry, and these quotes that I was looking for were sort of like the quippy, like Facebook memes and Twitter things that you see people sharing now that have those really good, like pithy, like life quotes that you see and you're really touched by them. And I was looking to just include different people, again, being fascinated by different people's experiences in life, and include that. And there are some supernatural elements to the book, but it's not about ghosts at all. And Jonathan, my husband, is going to be doing some photography. We have been taking pictures of haunted and abandoned places around Chicago and Chicagoland.
Oh, nice.
To sort of incorporate that haunting theme into the book. But again, it's not a ghost book, and people were submitting ghost stories, and I was like, no, you misunderstand. But I do accept things for my blog, though. If people want to send me ghost stories and stuff, I'll share that on my blog.
Nice.
But anyway, so that's what I'm working on, and it's kind of taking my time with it and enjoying that. That is something that is a personal project of love for me, while I kind of rest on my laurels for a minute with TV coming out now. I have time to work on other things because
Sorry.
Yeah, you got a little feedback there, Vanessa.
Yeah, I don't know why. I have been sitting here watching the show with no sound on it whatsoever. I back out for a second, pull it back up, and the volume's completely up.
Yeah.
paranormal activity.
There you go.
But anyway, so I'm taking that opportunity while I can.
Yeah.
So in between promoting the show and stuff.
Yeah, we do have a question from the chat room back to the Maryland Ghost Book. Matronista asks, any stories from PG counties, Prince George's County? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, so from PG County, my aunt submitted a UFO encounter from her teenagehood that was on Lotsford Vista Road, which I'm not sure is even there anymore. It's a famous road that people would drive down to see the Goat Man, which is a big legend there in the central area of Maryland. And she and her friends as teenagers had a UFO encounter where the entire car full of kids saw a flying saucer basically in an open field next to a barn. So that was a really neat story. And my aunt has a great sense of humor too, so the way she conveys the story, I let her send me her just transcript of how it happened, and basically I write a little intro, and then I just popped her story right in there exactly as she wrote it. So I think there's a high level of UFO sightings still to this day around DC, around different areas of Maryland where there's, around like Fort Detrick and different bases and things like that. That's my understanding.
Yeah, you don't hear about that too much, about UFO encounters out in Maryland or the DC area, although they do reportedly happen. You usually hear about them out west or the Midwest.
Right. Well, because there's so much air traffic everywhere. Even if you did see something that was weird, you wouldn't really. You might just scratch your head and go, "Boy, I'm seeing things." You wouldn't think, out there in the West with the big sky, it's much easier to say, like, "Okay, that seems anomalous."
Right.
And we saw, just where Center Road is, Mike. We saw one. My son and I saw one that looked like it was as big as a football field. It was hovering about 500 feet above a house, right off the main road. And I took a picture of it. This is 3 phones ago. Took a picture of it, and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird, you know. I can't explain it away because it wasn't moving. It wasn't moving at all. It was literally hovering 500 feet above his house. And a couple of weeks ago, I got to talking with a couple of guys that I work with at my second job, and they were talking about UFOs and stuff. I said, oh, I saw one of those, and told them what it looked like. And I thought their jaw was going to hit the floor. And we sat there and we figured out, all three of us, that we saw the same thing on the same night in 3 separate locations here in Norman, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Yes, at approximately the same time. And one of the guys had actually kept a record of when he saw it and went back home, got on his computer, found it on, brought it in the next shift, and had the whole thing. And I'm like, damn, that's creepy. You know, because that's what, I mean, I expect to see ghosts. I see them all the time. I don't expect to see something that looks like a football.
It's not something that you think you're going to see, and it's not something that you can easily categorize into, like, okay, I understand what that could be. Nope, there's that's crazy.
Yeah, it was like the biggest baseball diamond I've ever seen. It was a baseball diamond. It was the size, and it did not move, and it made no sound. Go figure. I don't know. I know, right?
Yeah. Now, just before the show started, you guys were talking about night vision wear. What would be like the proper dress or good things to wear when you're in night vision? And so I got to bring that back up because while you guys were chatting about that, I was like, you know, this would actually be a great topic during the show for our viewers who are investigators.
The struggle is real. I can tell you what not to wear. So one of my favorite episodes that we filmed was at Moundsville State Penitentiary, and I wore leggings that night. And when you watch the episode, I had on a long shirt too. I looked cute, yay, that was wonderful. I look cute for TV, but then when you watch the dang footage, it looks like I'm wearing a shirt with no pants. Unless you see, there's like one glimpse where the camera, where it like pans to normal regular camera and you can see that I've got on leggings. But if you're not paying attention, you're thinking like, who is this goofball? What is she wearing? So I made the mistake of wearing black a lot because that's what you're used to wearing on an investigation, but then it doesn't always translate well for the camera. It usually looks white or it can be like straight up see-through. Same with light materials. I'm trying to think of the women that I see on TV are usually wearing like a coat. They're usually wearing a jacket or a coat or something, so they might look like we were talking about wearing jeans so that you feel cute and you look cute. Like wear cute shoes if you need to, if looking cute matters to you. And then having like something on so that you're not showing your bra to the whole world, because It was just kind of funny. And don't wear white either, because white sort of blinds, sort of dazzles in the camera, and this can look kind of strange.
What can I do for when I'm filming next month in New York? What can I do to not look like a pug on film?
Oh God.
Okay, because, I mean, you can see, from the front, I'm okay. From the side, I have a flat face. And I look like a pug. I look like one of those big-eyed dogs that face is all smushed in. How can I do that? There's no contouring in the world.
Honestly, I have, ever since I was a younger lady, I have employed the Paris Hilton method of doing the 3/4 head tilt. So I try to be conscious, especially when we're filming, because I have like a double chin. It doesn't matter how skinny I get, how many leaves of lettuce I eat. Like I've always had this double chin. So when I turn to the side, I get that. It's like, oh God, it's there. And it's just kind of like being like always standing up straight, being conscious of holding your head up and kind of cocking it to the side a little bit. And I swear to God, that has saved me from a lot of photo troubles and a lot of camera troubles.
try that.
when you're consciously thinking about it, if you can think about it. But I don't know. I mean, every time I watch the playback from an episode, I'm just like, there were a few good outfits that I wore. Most of them involved having on a coat or a scarf so that I didn't have to worry about like those things. So, and they sprayed the heck out of our hair and everything, so it was like, my hair was like stiff, like a Lego head. So I don't know. It was I don't know what to tell people. I can only tell people what not to wear.
We have somebody in the chat that is absolutely obsessed with my hair, by the way, actually telling me I need to cut it. Hey, Super Woody Boy, no, buddy, ain't gonna happen, so go ahead and get on with yourself. Anyway.
You know, Vanessa, when the show starts, there's a lot of people who come on in the chat and tell you that your hair is looking beautiful. So,
yeah,
I don't know if
apparently
you catch that.
I need to be bald, so, well, he's just gonna have to get over that. Anyway, but thank you, I'm gonna try those. I'm gonna try that, because...
Let me know how it works.
I will, because you and I, we look very similar. I have the same stuff, so I'm definitely going to try that.
Give it a shot, because I was like, when I, watching the playback on some things, I was always like pleasantly surprised with how good, like I was always like, oh, I look kind of cute. So I wore layers, or like, even if it's hot as heck outside, wear like a thicker material so that you're not accidentally, like if you wear like a tank top or a light cotton shirt, you're gonna see your bra or, whatever.
Yeah, we ran into that problem when we were filming with BPI. It ended up being Boom Fest 2016, so I really don't want to go down that road again. It's
not the, and like filming for TV, it's like, and we're a bunch of women, and we're supposed to look good, and we're supposed to be cute, but you're not also supposed to, we want to keep it classy, and then it's like, we've accidentally just sort of looked stupid because we all decided to show up wearing something nice, not thinking that I want to dress well because I'm going to be on television, not thinking like I need to dress appropriately also for IR and for walking around for 12 hours in the dark. So you'll see some.
You've got great.
I'm looking at the chat here, and they're having an interesting time with this. Scott Latea had a message retracted. Scott, what did you say? Wow, naughty boy. Our Mad Hatters are getting crazy up in there.
They're getting crazy.
They are. They are. Alright. So, speaking of your show, and I know that you don't have a lot of information about, it's going to be coming to the U.S., but you don't have a lot of information about that. Will, like, your past episodes that you had aired and filmed, do you know if those will be coming at all?
So that's an excellent question. So there's 3 seasons that have been filmed. I was part of 2 of them, and then there's going to be another season that we'll start filming in winter. So definitely the episodes that will be shown in the U.S., they'll either start from the beginning or they'll mix and match so that it will be all these previous episodes and all these older episodes.
Okay.
I have a feeling that's what is going to happen first, and then we'll get through with this next season, because we've gone by seasons, but the world has sort of, because we're not owned by a network, we're owned by a production company. The world has seen us in all sorts of, season 2 was really season 1, or, things like that. So by the time we come to the U.S., I think all those episodes should be available for everyone. I don't know that for sure, but that makes sense to me.
So where are some of the different locations that you've investigated that we can expect to see as far as episodes? Anything that's a little different? That's a little normal? Because you have your kind of run-of-the-mill, like everybody's done this, every show's done.
Goes there. Because like I mentioned Moundsville, which is one I think that's been on all the shows. We've done a couple of those like big ticket items, but we've filmed a lot in the Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia area. There's tons of places from Martinsburg, West Virginia, lots of places, and also people's private homes and small historic locations that are maybe like smaller living history sites that have never been filmed before. They're really, really cool, and so it gives people something different to look forward to watching, because I enjoy seeing. I know that it's like, well, I'm going to look forward to seeing if they're going to Pennhurst, because you know, but it's neat because we've been to a bunch of smaller locations and have just a lot of new places to introduce to people, and telling some different stories and seeing some different sides of investigating, and also the history of just that area.
Have you only filmed stateside, or have you been overseas at all?
We have not been overseas, so we've been shown overseas, for sure. That's a common question that people ask. They're like, oh boy, did you get to film in the UK? And it's like, no, everything's been filmed exclusively in Maryland, DC, Virginia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania.
How do you like
it? It's a treasure trove of places.
Got a question from Shauna's let me know that there was a question from Woody in the chat room, and what's your most significant experience in the paranormal?
Oof.
I know you've probably had many.
I have a hard time answering that, and sometimes my answer changes depending on my current mood, because I've had so many interesting experiences at this point, and some very compelling ones. The most significant one would have been from my childhood when I was 11 years old, and the first abandoned house that I ever explored, where I was being sort of like this junior ghost hunter, and I was fascinated with this old house and sort of like took it on as my personal project and my personal love that I had for this place. It was supposed to be haunted by a ghost called Walter, and I was just begging so hard for the universe to let me see this ghost. As this kid, when you're a kid and you're not thinking straight, I was like, boy, I really want to see ghosts. Wouldn't that be great? And I actually, one day I did, and this is the only time in my life that I can ever say for sure that I know what I saw was a ghost, and that it was the ghost in the traditional sense of the word. I've had crazy things happen, and I couldn't tell you what they were, what they meant, just that they were cool or scary or emotional. But this was, I looked up into the attic window. I saw a man standing there with his hands on the windowsill. He was completely white. He had no face. Everything on him was white except the details of his clothing were slightly yellowed in certain areas, where there would be like a wrinkle in his shirt or something like that. I could see that detail.
You can actually see color.
Yeah, I could see that, but it was a lack of color. He had no face, but it wasn't frightening for some reason. Like, obviously, intellectually, I knew I should have been scared, but I wasn't. I was thrilled and excited, and as I looked up at him, I realized that he was surprised that I could see him. And it was just this amazing moment. And looking back, going back into the house and up to the attic, the floor, there was an older floor that was built below, how do I describe it? There was an older floor that he would have been standing on, where he would have been able to lean out the windowsill with his hands on the windowsill. And then the current floor was level with the windows, like a common thing that you see in historic houses. So that a real living person would have had to lay down on their stomach in order to hang out the window. And it would not have been possible for somebody living to stand there. There was one chunk of hole in the floor where I could see the original floor level.
Okay, I got what you're saying, yeah.
So, it was crazy.
But that's amazing, though. I mean, that's common in England. The Roman soldiers that people see, and they see it commonly. They only see them technically from like the knees up, because I've said this before on the show, because the ground was technically about 2.5 to 3 feet lower than it is today.
People are always asking, like, why don't we see ancient ghosts? And I'm like, well, people do, but they only see their heads, or they only see them from the torso up, because the street level was not the same today as it was 500 or 1,000 years ago. But
no, they're thinking it's a head rolling down the street, but in actuality, it's a person walking, but it's different.
On their street,
Yeah. Another question from Woody in the chat room. Have you had any personal experiences with past relatives?
When I was younger, I used to smell my grandmother's perfume every year on Christmas. and she wore Estee Lauder Youth Dew, which I remember because I asked my mom, which is not a common perfume, I don't think, and it's nothing that anybody else would be wearing. Like, it is literally like an old lady perfume, I believe, and it had a very distinct scent, and I would always smell that and believe that she was with me. And I can't say for sure, but I have felt the presence of relatives around me before in times of need, maybe sometimes in a dream or something like that. But it's a strong enough feeling that I could feel that presence and that love, always in a positive way.
Oh, that's good. That's sweet. Definitely.
Most of my experiences have been pretty, leaning to the positive side,
Good.
Now, that leads us into another question, though. With you being blessed enough to have the more positive experiences, is there one that stands out to you that is less positive? What would rank your least pleasant?
I ran into some trouble with some of the places that we were filming at in Maryland, where I came home with what you would call an attachment, I guess, that would linger for days, and it was mostly came in the form of nightmares and things like that. And there was one occasion where I woke up with scratches on my back.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes, people are like, oh, I got scratched. And you're like, let me see the photo. And you see the photo and it looks sort of like, no, it could have been anything. You could have, rubbed up against something, or it's underwhelming. Well, I woke up after having these terrible nightmares, and I went to go get in the shower, and I felt nothing. I felt fine. All was well. And Jonathan said, stop. You have something on your back. He was like, this is insane. And he took a picture of it, and it looked like I had rolled across like a giant spiral notebook. It wasn't scratches. It was like 10 lines going down my back that were the exact same length, and they were the same width apart. And we searched high and low on the bed. There's no explanation. It wasn't like the mark of my pajamas and the way I slept or anything like that. And they faded after about 30 minutes. And then after I found out about it, I got really agitated. And I got so agitated that I went into a fit, a complete fit of rage. And I got so mad and so upset in a way that I wouldn't usually, and it was not like me. It was like I was sort of standing outside of myself, feeling like, why I'm having a total panic attack, tantrum right now. And then it faded away, and then we smudged, we put on new age music, and we lit candles and had positive thoughts, and we're like, oh Lord, whatever this is, make it go away. And then one night after that, I woke up in the middle of the night and my eyes were open, and I just felt something run their finger across the top of my foot, on each of my toes. It was like a sharp, it wasn't threatening, it was just somebody running a sharp fingernail across the top of my foot. And I was like, I'm freaking done now. I get your point. Whatever your message is, let me think about it, but you have got to go. You have got to go. I can't deal with this. And there was a couple of other things that happened that were even more personal that I can't talk about because they sound insane. If somebody would tell me, I'd be like, well, that's wonderful. You're completely nuts. But
we don't think people are nuts here. We go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and you're not nuts.
I swear, I'm not even comfortable talking about it. I've had one of the other things that Mike was in the Encounters in the Paranormal book was the thing that happened to me at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, where there's supposed to be this phantom house at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in Chicago, and it's a well-documented story. And I had an experience when I first moved to Chicago and didn't really know that much about the history of these places. I just was like, oh, take me ghost hunting, take me somewhere. And we went to Bachelor's Grove, and this light in the forest, to make a really long story short, this dancing light in the forest sort of morphed into what looked like the pane of a window, and what looked like the glow of candlelight in this window. And I, along with like 10 other people, watched this, and then just without even thinking or discussing it or saying, wow, what is that, or what the heck, just all started walking towards it at the same time. And we walked all along the path until we were completely out of Bachelor's Grove. And if you read any stories about Bachelor's Grove, it's these types of stories over and over again. Sort of this trance-like state, following this light, thinking like, is it the moon? Is it a street light in the distance? It was changing shape. It was moving up and down. You could see, it was so big that you could see the trees in front of it as it was moving like behind them. And I'm thinking, I've never seen anything like this. And we just led us right out of the cemetery, and then it was gone. And I looked up, and there's the moon high up in the sky. And we got into our car, and we drove home. And that was that. And it wasn't until 2 weeks later when I got together with this same group of people, where everybody came into the room just all chatting a mile a minute at once and saying, like, what the heck happened? This is what happened to me, this is what happened to me. Wasn't that weird? We all left at the same time. That was bizarre. We were all in like this trance-like state, and it was just so strange. And so I'm used to studying ghosts and supernatural and folklore, and like I understand what ghostly activity is, and some of these things that happen just sort of lie outside of anything that even makes sense within the parameters of like the paranormal, you know, like, okay, this is what a haunting is, I got that. And then there's this weird stuff, this feeling that we were being taunted, like the light of like an angler or something sort of moving us out of the cemetery, or this thing that scratched me, which I don't think was, I know that not all scratches have to do with evil or negative entities, but just this feeling that something wanted to communicate with me, and I didn't know what it wanted, and I couldn't help it, you know.
Now let's discuss something real quick. Go back to Bachelor's Grove. Now
Sure.
I know that it seems like it might have been luring you or taunting or you know, like you said, the anglerfish. Is there, and just go with me, okay? Is there any chance that it was actually helping you? Because something's telling me that isn't a safe place to be at night. And to me, you describing it, it actually seems very comforting. And it's doing what it can do in order to make sure that you were taken out of harm's way.
That's a good point, and that's a long-held debate, because many people have experienced this weird light and this strange trance feeling. And yeah, the question is it something that's there for your benefit, or is it something that's messing with you? My personal distinct feeling was that it's like I was looking into a window with this warm glow of what seemed like candlelight or lamplight, but I didn't get a positive feeling from it. I got a taunting feeling from it. I got a laughing in my face kind of feeling about it. Other people have had the opposite reaction. Other people have said that something sort of peacefully made them go away, because there are supposed to be a lot of things at Bachelor's Grove that are not safe. Not just the area itself, naturally, to be there at night, and God knows, getting arrested and being an idiot kid like I was. But like the types of hauntings that occur there, you know, that may be at odds with each other. Like there's this feeling that Bachelor's Grove is this mega haunted place. It's this like portal or whatever people like to say. And then there's this feeling that like, well, no, there's good spirits there. There's people who are buried there that have nothing to do with the overarching feeling of the negative part of the haunting. So I think it's possible. My personal feeling was that it was not positive. But there are stories of people who felt like they were being helped. So I would say that it's entirely possible. I know that sometimes we have a reaction to supernatural, that like our natural reaction is to be afraid, like our evolutionary, our biological reaction is to be afraid of something that's not trying to scare us, the way you might be startled by like a dog or a person walking up behind you that's a stranger, but they mean you no harm. So I definitely can understand that. So,
because when you discuss bachelor's grove is what you call it, right? Because I've never been there. I don't know anything about it, but it looks like a shanty town to me, which is kind of strange because that's what
it doesn't have a good vibe. It's not a place with a positive vibe, and it's not supposed to be haunted by the people who are necessarily buried there, or at least it's not haunted by them in the sense that the whole area and the town around Bachelor's Grove is just supposed to be this it's a frightening sort of place. The people who are buried there are more peaceful. It's the years and years of people going in and just pillaging and knocking over tombstones, and teenagers doing their rituals there in the 50s and 60s, and there was a lover's lane there, and just all sorts of there's legends, and then there's facts, and the fact is that there was a lot of destruction to the cemetery over time, and of course there's the belief that can lead to sort of like the bad things creeping in. So,
absolutely.
And I think that's kind of taken over by that sometimes.
Where is it located at?
It's outside of Midlothian, Illinois, so it's about an hour outside of Chicago in the Rubio Woods Forest Preserve.
My road trip?
Well, I mean,
Yes, if y'all go, let me know, because I want to come with you, and it's worth it. So.
Okay, we'll definitely have to do that. It's after an hour. I have one other question from the chat room. We'll just make it real quick. He asked it a while ago, Scott Latea. So we'll ask that, and then we'll start wrapping things up. But he asked, Greys and reptilians, do you believe in those?
No, I don't. I don't believe. Okay, so I don't believe in alien life forms in the sense of being visited by things from other planets. I believe that what we encounter, that we say are aliens or alien abductions or experiences, are actually things that are earthbound spirits or earthbound entities or something perhaps from another dimension, but in the traditional sense of like being visited by creatures from other planets, and that my understanding is that's what reptilians are, and that they're like they've invaded, and like the president, I saw a video once of like Obama morphing into a reptilian. Right. I was like, oh Lord. So no, sorry. I could, I'll keep talking if you don't shut me up, but that's a no from me. But I don't dismiss those encounters. Okay,
so you're thinking more multi-dimensional, not necessarily from another planet.
Right, or, elemental spirits from here that we mistake because, we have our fairy tale idea of what certain things look like from folklore, but then things, alien creatures that we see and describe could be something like what is traditionally a gnome or a fairy in a different culture, so.
Well, yeah, and that's, I think a lot of things that we kind of tend to forget about that. You have a lot of different cultures with all these different legends, and so there's probably different variations on maybe the same type of entity, or maybe they're all different, but I think we tend to forget those different legends and cultures at times.
I'm open to being proven wrong anytime, too. I don't know anything. This is just my opinion.
Just learning. We're
all learning. It's a lot of theory, and we're trying to find answers. So we're all in the same boat, and that's a big part of what we do here on Haunted Road Media is we're asking each other all these questions, throwing out our experiences, and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, exactly right. That's why I love us.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is after an hour. I really want to thank Amelia for coming on and joining us tonight. I know we took a little time to schedule this, but we finally got you out here.
No, sorry. Yeah, thank you.
So it's it's been great having you on. How can people find you? I mean, we have, of course, Maryland Ghosts. So that's a Haunted Road Media book. Of course, you can get it at hauntedroadmedia.com, as well as Ghosty and Ghosty Phil, as well as Ghosty in the shirt. But where else? Because it's AmeliaCotter.com.
Yep, AmeliaCotter.com. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Goodreads and all that stuff. So come find me and be my friend.
Right, and so I guess, subscribe to you, and we'll be able to find out more about RIP Files later on.
Yep. Oh, and the RIP Files Facebook page is the best place to stay in touch with us.
Okay.
Okay, I'm doing that right now.
Yay!
Get right on it. There you go. All right. So let's hit up our Mad Hatters real quick. We'll bring up the chat page and give some shout outs here if the chat page will come up. It's working fairly well all night. A couple little hiccups now. It doesn't want to work. Okay, well, I'll start giving shout outs. Maybe that'll eventually pop up. So, of course, we've got to thank our chat Shananigator, Shana. There we go. It's just being slow. We've got to thank our chat Shananigator, Shana, for all of her work in the chat room. You guys had a pretty lively conversation going on, and appreciate that. So, Carrie Parrish, yes, you are there. And there is Andrew Cox. He says, "Oh yeah, shit, LOL." I don't know what he was "oh yeah" ain't about, but there you go. Donna Gordon, one of our new Cheshire Cats, Diane Hilbert, is in the house. BPI Gwen, great to see you out here tonight. Linda Miller, thank you once again for joining us. Bethany Warner, thank you again. Lynn's White, awesome. Robert White from Australia, thanks for joining us. Charmy Vapes and Fly, this is one of those cool names, love those. Who else we got? Fran Molino, thanks for joining us again tonight. 102 today where you're at, ouch, that's kind of scorching. Joanne Rubino, thanks for joining us again. Yes, it's buffering a little bit, I know, it had some issues. Super Wee Boy, thanks for your questions, and we won't talk so much fashion next time. Ether Shadow, thanks for joining us once again. Tammy Sifford, another one of our Cheshire Cats, and she says, "Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share." Also check us out on Facebook. Yes, please do that. Let's see, who else do we have? I know a lot of people are chatting. See if we can find a couple others here. And see, there's Donna. Well, I might have to leave it at that for now. And if we don't say your name, it doesn't mean anything other than there's a lot of people that were chatting. Ectovision Paranormal, there we go. Sean Gilmore, I'll be investigating with EVP on Friday night, St. Joseph's Hospital down the road here in Lorain, Ohio. So I am looking forward to that. It's a great group of guys. Check out their channel. And of course, our lovely guest tonight, Amelia Cotter. Check out her books. This is The Haunted Media One, Maryland Ghosts, and then she has Breakfast with Bigfoot and This House. So check it all out, Amelia Cotter. And of course, you. Yeah, thank you, Amelia. Had a great time, and thank you, Vanessa. That is going to be it for tonight. Catch everybody later. Till next time.